I think the major problem is the fact it's not race, it's class. I think that America is becoming increasingly divided around class lines, and that the disparity between rich and poor is incredibly profound. And you asked me earlier about the changes in New York. I would say the number one change in New York is that the rich have a lot of money and a lot of access, and the poor have very little. And that the rungs that you use to pull yourself up are much more tenuous. My family was pulled up by basically the Board of Education, and that was an institution that you went to, stayed in for X amount of years and pulled your family up. The kinds of benefits and things that the police department find, all that kind of municipal stuff, it's really been, pulled back. The unions don't have the power they used to have. The benefit packages aren't what they used to be. Insurance companies are basically, I think insurance companies are loan sharks. I think basically a lot of the safety net that we used to say is part of the tapestry of this country has been fragmented and ripped to shreds by Republican administrations with the tacit help of weak-willed Democrats. And so we have a city in New York, and a country where it's increasingly hard to get ahead. And I really believe that, to me, it's class. Race, to me, is a tool to divide people. I don't really think that I really think that the Chinese immigrant and the black kid from the hood and the Latino in South Central have a lot more in common than they think in terms of trying to get ahead. But race is a real good tool not to let them get together. And I think it's been manipulated and still is manipulated both by white power structure to keep people separated and by politicians and power brokers in these various communities who can use race as a leverage to build their own power bases. If you separate working class black people in a city like Brooklyn and you have them at odds over power, you're not really focusing on the larger issues, to me. So I think that class is increasingly, we're becoming more like England. And I really feel profoundly that this class thing is a huge part of it. I mean, clubs. When New York was a vibrant cultural city, and when I say vibrant, I mean not a city that consumes culture, which is what it does now, but creates culture, which it doesn't do nearly as well. There was a lot more democracy. There was not table service. Bottle service is a really interesting, the idea of bottle service really is a profound idea in that you can only sit down if you're buying Dom or Cristal or whatever. And if you're not, you can't sit down. What the fuck is that? You think about what that says. If you don't have a lot of money, you can't really sit down in this club. You can barely get in, but you certainly can't sit down here. So, used to be clubs where you go in, and if you sat down, you could sit anywhere. They were maybe in the little VIP section, but there was a kind of democracy of the room. There's no democracy of the room anymore. And in fact, people pay big money not to be democratic at clubs. I think the American identity is, there was always a falsehood about it, but it's definitely graphically. So when people talk about hip hop, they always say, well, it's so materialistic, and so who in America isn't materialistic? Wait a minute. You mean the fact that they want a big car, they want expensive jewelry, and they want big houses and beautiful women? How is that? When did that become un-American? I don't think the guys I see out at Bungalow 8 and the kids at Soho House and those guys, they got suits on. As soon as they loosen the tie and the suspenders come out, they want the fine girl, they want a big-ass car, they want a big-ass house, and they're wearing a very expensive watch. So, to me, it's just a matter of degrees of greed. The country's founded on greed, and it's becoming more greedy all the time.